Hello? Hello? Anybody there? Hello. This is the Bible in fewer words. We are Carol and Steve Wells. This is episode 247, Matthew chapter 26. Hi, Steve.
Hi, Carol.
I guess we have a story to tell here.
Yeah, last time we just had a bunch of parables, right?
Yes.
And this time it's going to be more of a narrative, a story.
I like stories.
Yeah.
Let's get started.
Okay.
Chapter 26. When Jesus finished saying all these things, he said to his disciples. So all these things is all the parables?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Passover is 2 days away, when the Son of Man will be betrayed and crucified.
He's already said that a few times before, right?
Yeah, but it's coming. It's only 2 days away.
Yeah.
Set your buzzer.
Yeah. When Jesus was in Bethany, eating dinner at the house of Simon the leper, a woman came with some precious ointment and poured it on his head.
When the disciples saw this, they were indignant, saying, "This is a waste. The ointment could have been sold with the money given to the poor."
When Jesus heard what they said, he said, "Why do you criticize this woman? She has done something nice to me. There will always be poor people, but you won't always have me."
It's kind of a funny attitude, isn't it?
Yeah.
Then Judas went to the chief priests and said to them, "What will you give me if I deliver Jesus to you?"
They said they'd give him 30 pieces of silver. So Judas looked for a way to betray Jesus.
I want to go back to the oil a little bit.
Okay.
Is oil that expensive? I mean, it was really precious oil.
It's called very precious ointment. That's how it's described. I have no idea how much it would have cost. But apparently it was pretty expensive stuff.
And she's just pouring it over his head like that.
Uh-huh.
Like it's just dripping all over his
Well,
hair.
we
and
don't
coming
know.
down. Okay.
We don't know. She put oil in his head. That was expensive oil.
All right. On the evening of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, Jesus sat down with his 12 disciples.
As they were eating, Jesus said, "One of you will betray me."
This made the disciples sad, and each of them said to Jesus, "Is it me? Is it me?"
Jesus said, "The one who is dipping his hand with me in the dish is the one who will betray me."
So that was Judas right there dipping his hand with him in the dish?
Yeah. And then he goes on to say, "Woe to him. It would be better for him not to have been born."
Then Judas asked Jesus, "Is it me?" Jesus said, "You said it."
As they were eating, Jesus took the bread, blessed it, and broke it, and gave it to his disciples and said, "Take and eat this. It is my body."
Then he took the cup, gave thanks, gave it to them, and said, "Drink all of this. It is my blood, the blood of the New Testament, which is shed to forgive sins."
"I won't drink any more wine until I drink it with you in my Father's kingdom." So I guess there'll be wine in heaven.
And they'll be in heaven too? He's going to be not
Well,
drinking for a long time.
I say heaven. It's not really too clear what Jesus is talking about here. Most scholars think that he was an apocalyptic preacher who was thinking that the end was coming soon. The bad guys were going to be destroyed, and all the good guys were going to be left.
Yeah.
And then there was going to be a kingdom that was going to be ruled by the Messiah, and he was the Messiah.
Okay.
So maybe he isn't talking about heaven, but later they'll be drinking wine together.
All right. Good for them. Verse 31. When they arrived, Jesus said to them, "You'll all desert me tonight, but after I have risen, I'll go ahead of you to Galilee."
Peter said to Jesus, "Everyone else may deny you, but I never will."
And Jesus said, "Before the cock crows tonight, you'll have denied me 3 times.
Peter said, "I'm willing to die with you, but I'll never deny you." And all the disciples said the same thing.
Verse 36. Jesus and his disciples came to a place called Gethsemane. He said to his disciples, "Sit here while I pray."
Jesus took Peter and the 2 sons of Zebedee, James and John, went with him.
He said to them, "I'm so sad I could die. Stay up with me."
Jesus fell on his face and began to pray, saying, "If it's possible, Father, take away this cup. But do what you want, not what I want."
Verse 40. When Jesus found his disciples asleep, he said, "Couldn't you stay awake for an hour? The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak."
Jesus went away again and began to pray, saying, "Don't make me drink from this cup, Father, but if you want me to drink from it, I will."
Jesus found his 3 disciples asleep again. He left them and prayed again, saying the same words. He came again to his disciples and said to them, "Wake up, let's go. The one who has betrayed me is here."
Judas came with a crowd armed with swords and staves, with the chief priests and elders.
He gave them a sign, saying, "The one that I kiss is him."
And he came to Jesus and said, "Hello, teacher," and kissed him.
Then they all grabbed a hold of him and took him. One of Jesus' disciples drew his sword and struck the high priest's servant, cutting off his ear.
Jesus said to him, "Put away your sword, because all who use the sword will die with the sword."
"Don't you know that I could pray to my Father and he'd send 12 legions of angels?" Then all the disciples abandoned Jesus and ran away.
They took Jesus to Caiaphas, the high priest, where the elders and scribes assembled.
Peter followed and watched from a distance. The chief priests and scribes found 2 false witnesses who said, "This man said, 'I can destroy the temple and rebuild it in 3 days.'"
Then the high priest said to Jesus, "Don't you have anything to say about this?"
But Jesus said nothing. Then the high priest said to him, "I command you by the living God to tell us whether you are the Christ, the Son of God."
Jesus said to him, "You have said it, and you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of power, coming in the clouds of heaven."
The high priest ripped his clothes and said, "Why do we need any more witnesses? You have heard his blasphemy. What do you think?" They answered, "He should be executed." Then they spat on his face and hit him. Others slapped him and said, "Prophesy to us, Christ. Who hit you?"
While Peter sat outside the palace, a young woman came to him and said, "You were with Jesus of Galilee."
Verse 70. Peter denied it, saying, "I don't know what you're talking about."
When Peter went out on the porch, another man saw him and said, "This man was with Jesus of Nazareth."
Peter swore, saying, "I don't know the man."
Others who were standing nearby said, "We know you're one of them, because you talk like them."
Peter cursed and swore, saying, "I don't know the man."
And immediately the cock crowed.
Peter remembered that Jesus said, "Before the cock crows, you'll deny me 3 times." And he left crying. Well, that's a cheery story.
Yeah, so we now only have 2 more chapters to go.
Okay.
And we'll be done with the first gospel.
Yay!
Yeah.
Well, thanks.
Sure. Kind of a short one today.
Yep, that's okay. Listeners, thanks for staying with us. And if you appreciate these podcasts, consider supporting us. Maybe becoming a patron.
Yeah, or like and subscribe.
Okay. We'll see you next time, listeners. Bye-bye.